Welcome. In this video I'm going to be taking a look at this battery tender, and this is the Battery Tender Junior. And I'll put a link in the description of this, and if you use that link it helps me out a little bit and doesn't cost you anything extra. So my situation is that I don't drive my car very often, and last time I got in the battery was it was weak, and then I went somewhere a few miles away, and then when I left that place I tried to start it again. It was incredibly weak at that point. I didn't drive it enough to keep it charged, and it may be time to replace the battery. I'm not real sure, but what I wanted to do is put a battery tender on there to keep the battery charge up while it just sits in my garage for, it could be 10 days at a time. So this is the Battery Tender Junior. This is 12 volts at 750 milliamps. This will charge the battery to full, and then it stops and monitors the voltage, and if the voltage drops back down it charges back up again. So let me get it open. So here's the outlet itself, and here's the cord coming off of it. Looks pretty long. A funny thing about this, I've looked a couple places online at this, and it just shows this part of it. One of them I even saw an animation which just kind of showed all sides of this part. It doesn't show these kind of parts, which is what I really wanted to learn about. So this has two connectors on it. This is the cable that you can wire into your battery, and these are battery clamps. So if you had like a lawnmower battery, you could hook these up to the lawnmower battery, plug this in and leave it for, say, the winter time. This one you can wire into your battery, and then you just pop the hood open and plug this in here, like so. And then you would plug this in the wall. So I may get some grease to put on here, just to protect those eventually. And this here says it's 120 volts at 0.275 amps. And the output is 12 volts at 750 milliamps. I saw some of these similar products that were 1 amp, and this is 3/4 of an amp. And I'm fine with the lower voltage. If I want to charge it faster, I'll just use a regular charger. So I'm going to measure this. It's kind of hard to measure on camera, so I'll measure it off camera and let you know what I see. Before I do that, I'll actually compare these. So this is the start, and this is the end. So the clamps are just slightly bigger. So I'm going to connect this to the cord and I'll measure the length. So I measured from the bottom of here to the end of here, and it was about 12 foot 4 inches. Of course, I don't know if I had this perfectly straight, but if you need 14 feet, this is going to be too short. And then you would add on whatever that is, about 4 or 5 inches for the clamps. So you can plug this into an outlet on the side of, say, your garage, and this should reach the middle of your car if the outlet is kind of near the front of your car. Otherwise, you may need to use an extension cord on it. So now I'm going to go to the car and I'm going to wire this into my car. Before I go to the car, I wanted to talk about this. It says if you register it, you can add an extra 6 months to your warranty. And this is the instruction manual. I think it comes in 2 languages maybe. It looks like English and French. Okay, now I'm going to go to the car. Okay, I also want to mention, you may have seen it on here, this is fused here, and this has a 7.5 amp fuse. So close that. So what I want to do is I want to hook the, well, I'd say red, but it's black and red, up to the positive terminal, and the red up to the negative. So I'll hook it up like this. And this video is not a battery wiring safety video, so if you're not comfortable doing this and don't know how to be safe, then you should probably leave this to someone else. I'm sure like a mechanic could hook this up super cheap. But what I plan on doing is I'm going to use this as a jumper, so when I disconnect these, I won't lose power to like the clock and such. But you should really disconnect the negative, so this is probably the wrong way to do it. And needless to say, I don't have the car on or any power going on, so there'll just be a tiny little bit of charge going through this. I also have the cap on here, so if this is dangling down, it's not going to short out on something. Okay, so this is a 12 millimeter. socket, and if I were to short this to anything, zap. I mean, it would make a huge spark and not be safe. So keep that in mind. So I'm actually going to hold this terminal on here because I really don't want this connection to break. Okay, I have the nut off. I'll put the ring terminal around that, and that fits perfectly. I'll put the nut back on, and now I'll tighten that down so that's really tight. So I put this on here, but this didn't, I imagine the charge didn't really need to use this. I just did it as an extra precaution. I'll do the same on the negative. Okay, so the positive cover doesn't fit anymore. So what I'll do is I'll just get a pair of pliers here and I'll probably notch that out, and I'll do that later. So that gives us a lead about yay long. It's kind of hard to see here. This isn't long enough to, like, say, go out your front, your grill or anything like that. And tracing this back, this looks to be the ground. So if this did short on something, it shouldn't spark. The hot is inside of there. Because this cap doesn't seem to stay on very well. It kind of slides off easy. It could be because it's cold out. I don't know. But if I had some of that dielectric grease, I would probably kind of keep it in. Okay, so I'm going to plug this in now to the outlet. And the way this works is if you were to leave this plugged into the wall and you actually do have the clamps on here, if you touch the ends together, it won't spark because this requires voltage before it activates. So it should have voltage now because it's hooked right into the battery, and I have an extension cord here. I'm just doing this for the video. This will reach my outlet on the side of the wall. But I'll plug that in here, and we have constant green. Okay, that was just for a second. Now we have red. It's kind of hard to see the color on there. I don't know if the red's coming through. Let's see. Okay, I went and grabbed the instructions, and now it's flashing green. And it says the status indicating light is red light flashing, indicates the charger has power available and that the microprocessor is functioning properly. If the red light continues to flash, then either the battery voltage is too low or the output is not connected correctly. When the red light is steady, it is connected properly and charging the battery. If it's flashing, it means my battery is greater than 80% charged. And when it's steady, it's completely charged. So if it's flashing, it means you can return it to service, but you should probably leave it and let it charge fully. I had this on I was charging it, I think, at 1 amp from overnight, and it wasn't completely charged. But so this is charging now, and then next time I go to drive it, I can unplug this, and then when I come home, I'll just plug it back in, and it'll, tend the battery and make sure it stays up to charge. So I'll still have to pay attention to this battery. This is 4 years old. Let's see. It's about 4 years old now. So, this may be done or it may have another year or two. It's hard to say. But I'll pay attention to it and I will replace it. I'm not trying to get a lot of life out of this battery. I don't want to get stranded somewhere. But this might help me a little bit, keep my battery up since I don't drive it a lot. But that's all for now. If you have any questions about this, please leave them in the comments. If you like this video, please click like. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, I'd appreciate it if you could do that. And thanks for watching. Until next time, goodbye.